5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
This broadcast, telecast, podcast, and whatever the hell else it is copyrighted by the Rad Network and the Rob and Steve Sports Show, all found at theradnetwork.com, and is for the private use of our audience. Any reproduction, accounts, or descriptions of this madness without the express permission of the Rad Network and Williams Broadcasting and Rob's Really Mean Lawyers is prohibited. So just don't do it. It's the Rob and Steve Sports Show.
Toss to White. He's in! Patriots win the Super Bowl! Brady has his fifth! What a comeback!
Welcome to 2 hours of sports and nothing but sports.
Mandel will hold it. Now they've officially made it 57 yards.
Number 8 block kick to go the other way, too. He's got to be careful and get it up.
On the way. No, returned by Chris Davis. Davis goes left. Davis gets a block. Davis has another block. Chris Davis. No flags. Touchdown, Auburn.
Email the show at ras@theradnetwork.com.
Durant, back to Curry, dancing on Batum, over the double team. Oh! It's a golden dagger! Night! Curry, unconscious in the fourth.
And now the Rad Network presents the Rob and Steve Sports Show.
Game 3, NBA Finals tonight, New York, Madison Square Garden. Lots to talk about with that. Amazing hockey that we got to talk to. A lot of baseball news, football news. Steve, I want to start with there is news on the Brendan Sorsby story that we, and seemingly only we with as much vigor as we have been following. Sorsby is the Texas Tech quarterback who admitted to placing thousands of sports bets, including at least 40 on his own team while he was at Indiana. There's a lot more to the story, and we have the news, but I wanted to ask you first, Steve, why does it feel to me, maybe I'm wrong, like no one wants to talk about this? Is this the media, the sports media, recognizing the conflicts that exist between them and the leagues and gambling, and we'll just not really... Because I'll tell you what, Steve, it sure feels to me like the Ohtani story where nobody had any interest, nobody had any curiosity. They keep us updated on the sports betting side of it, kind of, sort of, but nobody delves into it.
I think it's a combination of a couple of things. On the one hand, you have, college athletics, I don't think really wants to admit that there is a problem with gambling, the players placing wagers. If you remember, I think it was like 4 or 5 months ago, one of their committees came out and recommended that they permit gambling for college athletics as long as it wasn't in your team sport. So if you're a basketball player, place all the bets you want on college football, college baseball, all of those other things. It's just stay away from your one sport. Which to me is, even at that level of just college, I mean, these kids just aren't even 21, turning 21, 22, very young kids, and saying, hey, look, we're all good with it. These leagues also make money off of this. They get a percentage of right with these deals that you have. They have agreements for all of their stats and all of that from the various, Bet Genius, Sport Radar. So they're making a lot of money by allowing, and in some instances, you could say promoting this gambling. So to come out and, take a stance and go in a negative light, is there a fear that there is possibly a lot more gambling going on in college sports than have come to light? I think that's a big part of it. I think there really is a lot more gambling than they even want to admit it, but they don't really want to do anything to resolve it. The other part, I think, has to do with the courts. We all know the NCAA has no more power anymore. Anything that gets decided by college sports goes to court, and if you get the right judge, it's going to get overturned. As we have talked about this over the last, month or so, or whenever it broke, In the last show, I flat out said I believe he's going to win his injunction. He's going to be allowed to play college football. We've seen this. The judge ruled that he's going to be able to play, practice. He gave him the 2-game suspension at the beginning of the season, which is what Texas Tech recommended to college football for his punishment for this. So the judge is going to honor that, from what I understand. And he's going to play the whole rest of this college football season.
So, in your first answer there, the one thing that I wasn't sure of, what's the problem with the NCAA allowing college athletes to gamble on sports that they're not playing? They're assuming they meet every other legal requirement. We're all allowed to gamble. What I don't what's the disconnect there?
Yeah, but one, the age. I mean, and you could say, look, you're 18, you're old enough to go fight for the country, then so be it. I mean, if I can carry a gun, then and fight for the country, then why can't I bet? I just think it's a bad look, and it still falls all under everything with college sports. Just because it's football doesn't mean that college sports um, don't. And this is that fine line: is college athletics as a whole. They don't necessarily break it down into college football. That's a subsection of college athletics. Uh, we're
What's the legal age for gambling?
21 in most states.
So if they were 21 and they're college athletes and the rule was you can bet on anything that isn't collegiate sports, that would just be the law, wouldn't it? What's the big deal there? They can bet on Major League Baseball and the NBA. They just will just say you can't bet on college sports. Would that be a reasonable solution?
I think that is the what they currently have. You just can't bet on college athletics.
At
I
all.
don't think you're a college student and you can't gamble at all. I think you just can't gamble on college athletics, and then they break it down into your sport.
Okay, so let's get back to the Sorsby thing. So he admitted to making his bets, at least 40 on his own team while at Indiana. That triggered the NCAA investigation and his suspension. He goes and enters a residential treatment program for gambling addiction. He comes back and says, "I'm clean." And the NCAA says, "Yeah, well, we found out you placed over 9,000 wagers across a variety of sports, all the way to obscure events like the Nathan's hot dog eating contest. He placed at least 40 bets on Indiana football games in 2022. He was on the roster, though he never bet on a game that he played in. Still broke the rule. And then he was facing a lifetime ban under the strict NCAA rules against betting on your own team. And that's where we left off the story, with Sorsby's legal team suing the NCAA. And this morning, Judge Ken Curry entered an order restoring, as Steve mentioned, the eligibility of Brendan Sorsby, with the requirement that he not participate in the game day activities for the first 2 games of Texas season this year. That means he will miss the September 5th game against Abilene Christian. I hope they'll be okay. And the September 12th game at Oregon State. The crux of the ruling contains not a lot of reasoning to the findings, to be completely candid. Judge Curry just basically checks the boxes as to the factors that must be satisfied to secure a temporary injunction. 1, Sorsby would suffer irreparable injury without an injunction. In other words, this is going to kill his career. This could really damage him financially. Number 2, he has shown a probable right to relief on the merits of the legal theories articulated in the underlying civil case, including breach of contract, good faith, and a balancing of the hardships. Now, he doesn't say it out loud. What a lot of people believe, and the way I read that, is that's the judge alluding to the mental health condition of having an addiction, and that he didn't breach his contract, he has an illness, etc. The judge didn't say that, but he may be doing that in the background. Now, the NCAA has the right to appeal the decision. So does Sorsby, by the way. If Sorsby wanted to get really obnoxious, he could say, I don't want to miss those 2 games, and appeal that as well. For now, the end result is that he'll be available to play this season after missing those 2 games, which is exactly what you predicted. The latest piece of news that came out right before we came on the air is that the NCAA is immediately banging the drum hard and loud for the federal government to clean up this mess. So the courts and then the government and all of these institutions and politicians are getting involved in sports because we're arguing over individual rights, Americans with Disabilities Act, etc. The NCAA strongly disagrees with the court's ruling, said President Charlie Baker, and he went on to say, quote, there is no better example of why targeted intervention from Congress is necessary when you have schools and deep-pocketed supporters willing to look the other way on the glaring integrity threat of betting on your own team and judges whose rulings effectively strip our ability to stop them. Only Congress can equip the NCAA. Blah 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 blah. Are you ready to agree, Steve? Is Congress has to get involved now in the NCAA?
Uh, I'll be honest with you. I don't like it when the government gets involved in anything to do with sports. Sports should be governed by their bodies. Not that I'm a fan of the NCAA. I've not been a fan of them for a long time. I think they're much more of that dictatorship. The question that I ask about this is if NIL didn't exist and he wasn't making over $5 million, he was just a college athlete that just, roll it back 10 years. Would the judge have ruled the same way? Or is it solely because, yeah, there is irreparable harm? The guy's got a $5 million contract. If we don't allow him to play, he loses $5 million. So we better give it to him because that is irreparable harm.
That is my understanding of how he can make this decision, because you can't, and I forget the term for it. Being married to a lawyer, you forget a lot of these terms, but he couldn't make the argument. I mean, judges could do whatever they want, but they don't ever want to be appealed. So he would have to make the argument that stuck, as we say, on appeal. He couldn't say, well, this is irreparable harm because this means he won't have a career in the NFL. You don't know that. It's predictive jurisprudence or something like that. You can't do that. So the answer to your question is no, he would have no irreparable injury if it wasn't for the NIL, because he can join the supplemental draft like we've talked about, and an NFL team can draft him just because none might, although I don't think either one of us believes a team wouldn't take a flyer on him, maybe in the 6th or 7th round or whatever. There are all sorts of avenues for Sorsby to get to, whether it's the NFL or the UFL or whatever these other leagues are. No, the only irreparable injury would be the money. There's nothing else there. That the NIL would have to be the reasoning for this to be irreparable. That's a lot of money, $5 million.
It is. It just, these are those consequences that occur without anyone really thinking about it. I think when they reached this agreement and this fell into it, just all of these different things, and the NCAA now, anything that they decide or do, it's going to go to the courts. And again, depending on what court, what judge, what jurisdiction, if this happened in Alabama, I mean, he may not get that ruling, but it happened in Texas. I don't know how far Texas Tech is from the location, and we're going to give it to him.
And I wonder if there's going to be appeals, and or they go, or is everybody going to let? I mean, Sorsby would be almost obnoxious if they went back and said get rid of these 2 games, but who knows? They might be feeling that his legal team might be feeling like we're on a roll. Or are they just going to, mostly the NCAA, they're going to do what they've started to do, point everything at Congress, just let this thing die in the courts. I don't know that they're going to do that. I'm just wondering, let it die. Do they have an inclination of how it would get ruled on in the Supreme Court or whatever? I'm with you. It is hard to engage in some of these conversations because on one hand, they are important to our sports, and but they're not sexy. And so, and then this overlying weighted blanket of having to talk about courts, Congress, the president, government, being involved in sports, which, by the way, is leading to a lot of people this morning saying, it would solve this if the players had a union. They're paid employees now. That's what the NIL is. If the players had a union, you'd have an arbitration system set in place. If you had a collective bargaining agreement, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Is that an answer?
I don't think that's an answer. And back to the Sorsby thing, I'm curious to see what the NCAA does. I mean, there is the one hand that they could say, look, we're not going to appeal because by the time the appeal process completes itself, it's going to be through the season. So it'll be a moot point. It doesn't mean anything. But if the NCAA truly believes this, you say this isn't about Sorsby. We are going to appeal this because I want a ruling and a determination for anyone else out there in the future to ensure that if they violate this gambling restriction that we have, that they're not going to play, because it comes down to the precedent. So is the NCAA just going after Sorsby, or are they going after the right for them to restrict people from gambling on college sports in their sport? So I'm hoping the NCAA appeals it and pushes it to the end. If they just say, look, he's going to get to play, we can't stop it, and drops it, then I'm saying, what good is the NCAA in any regard? Because anything they decide is going to go to the courts, and if they're not willing to fight for what they believe is right, then why are they even bothering?
If their premise is what you said, they could use the Sorsby argument in their favor now. They could ask for. I mean, look, Sorsby got an ex parte hearing. He got it right away because his lawyers were able to say we have to have this decided because of these deadlines. The NCAA could try to make the same argument to appeals court. Ex parte hearing because we believe there will be irreparable harm done to the NCAA if this isn't decided before the season starts. So if they wanted to, they could at least take that shot. They could get a decision before the season started from that appeals court. I don't know that you'd be able to fast track it into the Supreme Court, but that's where it gets a little more dicey over whether or not they want to throw it. But you're right. What impression do they want to make? Do they want to make the impression that we are completely against our athletes, and here's why gambling on college sports, and that it'll do irreparable harm to all of NCAA sports, let alone football? I mean, if they're going to make that case, they've got to literally then make the case in front of the appeals court. So it will be interesting to watch to see what they do, because if they're going to do that, they should do it right away.
Yes.
Like by tomorrow's show, we should have that story, or at the end of today's show. So.
Yeah, I agree. And I hope they do. I really do. And, I've worked almost, more than half my life in the gambling industry. I hope they do, because I'm fearful with the direction it's been going with this. Everything just goes to the court system. And I'm to the point of, you know what? Do we make college athletics, in a sense, the minor leagues for professional leagues? You turn it professional and you move forward. And then how you have the Ivy League, et cetera, that used to just be truly for college athletics. Do you just go, okay, we're going to have this, and this X amount of schools are going to compete as a solely academic institute with college athletics, and then all the others, out of the power conferences, if you want, form your own thing, make your sports part of that minor league system for the professional leagues. And then, in a sense, you go back to that Division I and Division II type of format. That Division II is solely for the academics. Division I is about the money, and a minor league system.
Well, starting with the playoff system too, back to football in particular, people have been crowing for years, and you've brought it up a lot in the last many months. Is this the end of the NCAA? Because a lot of people are saying they're not needed in football. There's these, is SEC going to go off on its own? Big Ten going to join them? Whatever. But there's been all this, and now you add in this as well, where a court has basically said you're worthless. Is this truly the end of the NCAA? And we're going to have a whole new governing body system or whatever, like you said, many of them in all of NCAA athletics.
And this is where I think it's very important for the NCAA to push back on this ruling. To even if they don't push back, I think we are well down the road to the NCAA going away. It's not going to take much right now. What, SEC and the Big Ten get together and say, look, we're going to run it. We're going to have our rules. We're going to form our own league, our own conferences. We're going to dictate all of our rules. And if you want to be a part of it, ACC, Big 12, join us. If you don't, so be it. But ultimately, we are going to be the determining factor. And we, as those two groups, are going to set up what college athletics are going to look like for the big universities that make money off of all of these deals. And they said they could do that right now if you could ever find a way to get the Big Ten and the SEC to agree. So I think the NCAA, in a sense, might need this case in order to fight for their survival.
And again, this is one of those stories it's very like raw until like a year or two or three from now when you're standing in front of your TV. NCAA football hugely popular, and you go, "Hey, what changed here?" Well, this may be what's changing. And so we like to keep you updated on it. The big story today, of course, Game 3 tonight, Madison Square Garden. As the Knicks are up 2-0 against the Spurs. Spurs lost both games in San Antonio. They lost 105-104. Excuse me, for game 2. And everybody, including Wemby himself, says Wemby cost the Spurs the game. Now, Wemby's hard on himself, wants to be a leader. That whole, okay, is this the look that you want from the question becomes, it's kind of like those blown calls. Do you blame the blown call as opposed to saying, well, why didn't you put yourself in position to not let a call hurt you? Or in a basketball game against what we're supposed to believe are the two best teams in all of the NBA, does it really come down to the man who wants to be the man and Wembanyama screwing up with his turnover and his failure to launch that 20-footer with seconds remaining, hitting the back of the rim? He had his chances, and yet Wembanyama went has been one of 9 on go-ahead field goal attempts in the final 5 seconds of the fourth quarter in his career. He's like that quarterback that can't do the fourth quarter comeback, the 2-minute drill comeback or whatever. Wembanyama himself says this is the whole problem. I need to have more poise, more control of the game. We're digging ourselves a hole. That's been the theme so far. Wemby says, I'm with my coach. I'm the problem. Still, Steve, people aren't stepping up and talking about the role players. In the end of this, it's all on Wemby. He gave up the turnover. He didn't hit a 20-foot shot that we all expect him to now. You know, it's like Ohtani going 0 for 18. Is this fair? Is this still where we're at? This is all on Wemby. He's probably going to lose it, and we're all going to go, okay, learning lesson. Michael Jordan didn't win right away, and he'll get better. Or are we putting him on too much of a pedestal?
I like the fact that he has stepped up and, voiced his blame falling on him and how he needs to be better. He's still a very young athlete. He's just learning from looking. For me, this is really coming down to the thing we worried about at the Spurs at the very beginning is, are they too young? Are they too not playoff experienced? No one's stepping up. I think more of the disappointing part for me is the Spurs, the other players, their silence. It's like, let's let Wemby take all the blame. Let's put it all on him. I'm not going to take any of that blame. I don't hear, Stephon Castle saying I have to be better at protecting the ball and not turning the ball over as much. I don't hear anyone on that team saying anything. I don't even really hear the coach coming out and saying anything. It's Wemby speaking up, and I give him credit, but they're going to win and lose as a team. And I'm going back to the early playoffs and stuff when Wemby in the game, he fell and he hurt his head in the second quarter, whatever it was, and he went out. The whole team didn't know what to do. They all stood around and it was like, well, I don't want to take the shot. Wemby, you take the shot. Nobody wanted it. No one would step up. We're watching that. And even now with the criticism, no one's even stepping up to defend Wemby to say we win as a team, we lose as a team. They're letting him get all the hate mail and take all the blame. And I'm not saying anything. Let it fall on him. And I don't think that's right. This is that immature Spurs team that has not been there before. And I'm hoping they use this to become a much better team in the future because the franchise with Wemby is so bright. But what if this has the opposite effect and suddenly Wemby goes, look, I'm 1 for 9 in close shots, last second shots I always miss. And now he's afraid to take the shot, but nobody else on the team will take the shot. They don't step up. Hey, look, man, let's take the pressure off you. They're going to double, triple team you. I'm going to be open. Just kick the ball out to me. I'll hit it. I'll take the blame if it goes down. I'll give you the credit for the assist in order to have seen me open. But what if it turns negative on Wemby because it's so much bad pressure on him at such an early part in his career? I hope it doesn't have that long-term negative effect, which right now I'm starting to think it might move into that category.
It certainly is a bad look the way no one's stepping up, and in particular, Coach Johnson, who seems to just want to hammer this kid in his own little way. And I'm trying to figure out who's setting the tone and how deep it goes. Is it because Wemby is so willing to take the blame? I'm really stumped by the way the coach is handling it, and then you get into the psychology of it. Is Wemby, to your point, is he just the safety net? Oh, he'll handle it. Vic will handle it. Vic's got it. Vic's got it. Oh, Vic didn't get it. Well, it's Vic's job to get it. Because it feels like that's the attitude. You're right. It feels like everybody's going, hey, I'll do my part, but it's Vic. It's all on Vic. And well, Vic didn't do it. He just has to get better looks. Maybe I'll say I at some point, but that's the danger of what you're saying there, with no one else seemingly saying I have to do better, I have to pass better, I have to guard better. Is that there this feeling, like you said, when Wemby hit his head, where they all look around and go, well, who's in charge now? It's like they literally don't have their old slogan. They don't have their next man up. Everybody step up and rally around the guy that's going to take you there. It doesn't feel like that. And I don't know if is it the youth of the team? Is it the personalities of the team, the coaching of the team, the structure? Is it all of it?
I would lean towards it's all of us. I mean, how come Champagne didn't step up? Look, I got to be better. 2 for 5 from 3, it's just there's so many other things that could be a part, and none of them have done it. If I'm the GM, and again, why I say you don't ever want me to be your GM, I'm looking at it going, I was wondering going into this finals, going, how many championships are they really going to win? And how much can Wembanyama dominate and become the greatest player of all time, towards that discussion, to how much of this roster do we need to blow up to bring in players that not only support him, but complement him? He can't be the only player on the court doing everything.
Classic question. We're only 2 games into this, but the Knicks won both of them on the road. Right now, just the whole 30,000 foot level question: are the Spurs losing this series, or are the Knicks winning it? Which way do you lean?
I think the Knicks are winning it. I do believe they are playing really well. I mean, their second and third quarters in game 2 were great. I mean, they took command of it. They're going at it as a team effort. I think Mike Brown and this team have a great game plan, better than I thought they were going to have going into it. And you watch it. I mean, you had 3 guys who scored over 20 points in the last game. They're spreading the ball around. They're keeping the Spurs defense uncomfortable, and they're taking advantage and able to exploit them in key situations. I haven't been sold on, Jalen Brunson, and he hits so many clutch shots, which is where I overlook it. But Jalen Brunson's not having a great series as far as shooting. I mean, he was 7 for 25 in game 2. I want to say he was 12 for 30 or 12 for 31 in game 1. That's a lot of shots getting put up that he's missing, but they're still able to overcome it. Karl Anthony Towns has played really good defense and it's matched up well against Wembanyama, which I think gives some other teams now a little bit of hope of, okay, Wemby's not going to dominate so much. We can go out and figure out how to guard him, how to slow him down. It's just the Spurs have no second man up, next man up mentality. It's Wemby or bust.
One of the storylines through the NBA season this year was the constant mashing of numbers and trying to explain away, was the NBA having great ratings, or a whole bunch of people tuning in, and then people go, well, wait a minute, they're partnered now with NBC. There's a whole bunch of more access and eyeballs. And when you really broke it down during the regular season, a lot of NBA fans were doing what we call highlighting. They were getting clips off of the internet, YouTube, things like that. Because I love it because he's such a basketball fan. Michael Wilbon said on ESPN, this is the worst regular season he's ever seen in the history of the NBA. And that he is a basketball guy first. And that was something you and I were bitching about left and right. So what were people tuning in more? It really, when you really dug into the numbers, not really. Wasn't a lot more eyeballs. It was a twisting of the numbers and access, etc. However, you can compare apples to apples. The first two games of the NBA Finals this year almost double last year's audience. Now, of course, it's 90%, so almost double the amount of people are tuning in and watching in traditional ways. That does include streaming, but watching it live, not clipping. Of course, having the biggest market in the country helps. Having New York in it helps. Having the rabid New York fans that aren't just in New York, but all over the country helps. The question becomes how much of that doubling of the audience is also fans going, cool, this matters. That Wemby guy's in it. He's a freak show. I got to see that. We're not going to know that for a while. I can't believe the ratings are doubled solely because the Knicks are in it.
I think it's the Knicks and Wemby. You know, we got somebody new. I think Wemby is becoming, if he's not already, the face of the NBA. And I think I like the fact the NBA appears to be embracing that. I just don't want to see Wemby getting too much pressure on him, and as he's taking all the blame. I agree. I thought this was the worst regular NBA season I've seen in a long time. I've enjoyed the playoffs, but to me, the playoffs haven't even been that great. I watch all the great hockey games, you know, all throughout the entire playoffs, and go back to the NBA, and every NBA game we get, you know, somebody gets to a 14, 20, 25 point lead. They find a way, but more so for me, and I've already said if I could change one rule, I would take away the 3-point shot, but I know that could never happen. I would move it back, and I would make it all the same distance. So when it hits the out of bounds, it's out of bounds. It doesn't come down into the corner, and you get a closer shot. But they need to address traveling. They need to address the turning the ball over, you know, carrying the ball. Uh, I think if they enforce the game the way it was supposed to be enforced in the rule book states, I do think the NBA would be a better game, but you watch it and you just, oh my gosh, the guy picked the ball up at half court, ran in and dunked it. You watch him just, you know, carry the ball, and it doesn't get called. I just, the athletes are great. I'm not taking anything away from it. The size, the speed, their athletic ability to me is far better than it used to be. What we would say the golden era of, you know, late 80s, 90s into the early 2000s. The players are bigger, stronger, more athletic. I don't think they know how to play the game better, though. I think the game has allowed them to move into these things, to not be called for traveling. Lane violations. Every free throw that goes up, everyone's standing in the middle of the free throw lane before the shooter shoots the ball. Enforce the rules, and then let's see where it goes. And I think more fans would be interested in watching.
Game 3 is at 5:30 on the West Coast on ABC. To Wembyama being the face of the league, what a story it would be if he showed up tonight and Game 4 and forced this thing to an even series. But let's look at the opposite, Steve. If the Spurs don't win tonight, this thing's over. It's just a matter of when. Does that tarnish the Wembyama ascension?
I think if they lose tonight, and Wembyana in his press conference has to accept all of the blame for their loss again tonight, and or in the game that they lose the series, I think it might tarnish everything he's accomplished to this point, because the casual fan's going to look at it going, he's the one who cost him the game. He's the loser. He's the one who couldn't make it. And he's, my fear is as he starts getting that reputation as not being a clutch player, but being a choker. And I don't know how he handles, he's been great so far, but deep down, is that going to start messing with his mental game, making him afraid to take the shot, making him feel like, oh man, no matter what I do, it's not good enough. I'm just not good enough, and start doubting himself. Those are things that we don't know how it's going to affect him. but he can't take the blame for 2 more losses.
One other note about Game 3 tonight, Madison Square Garden, speaking to politicians and Congress and everybody, tonight's the night. Not only will the mayor of New York, Zohan Mamdani, be at the game, so will President Donald Trump. The Knicks are warning fans to bring as little as possible to the game and encourage them to arrive at least 2 hours before tip-off. As part of the enhanced security members, they have a strict no bag policy in place, and it will be TSA style screening procedures. Basically, you show up with a bag, you either have to go back and put it somewhere, or they'll throw it away for you. You can't put it in a locker or anything like that. They have canceled the watch party, what they've been doing in New York, and they were going to continue to do it while the games are in New York at Madison Square Garden. Was they show all the screens outside of MSG, Times Square, etc. They do watch parties, and thousands of New Yorkers are standing there watching the game. That's not happening tonight for crowd control as well because of Trump's presence. In terms of a sports show, I just want as little of this circus as possible. I know they can't not show the president. I think it's great. You and I talked last week. Why aren't Trump and Mamdani sitting together? I hope they will, and they'll surprise us all, but we did that already. I know we can't do this in America. Take politics out of it and just think about the president of the United States being at the biggest sporting event going on right now. That's a cool thing. We can't leave it at that, and I know we won't. They're going to have to show Trump, probably Mamdani too. Please, that's it. This doesn't need to be the Taylor Swift in the NFL thing, and I don't need the booing because Trump or whoever is shown on the screen. That's, as fans that are watching at home, that's the thing. We'll see. That's the best I got for you.
I agree. I hope they show him before the game. And sorry, just a stupid thing that rolled through my mind as you were saying that. I'm like, ew, wonder if they were in the same booth, if they put the kiss cam and like panned up into the booth with Trump and Mamdani sitting there, just as a joke. Just hey, what would they do?
That would be great. Anything that would show the rest of us to calm down would be a wonderful
Rob
message.
and Steve continue next, only on the radnetwork.com.
The first time Corey walked into my home, I came around the corner, extended my right hand to shake it, and said to him, "Wow, you're big." And that would be Corey from QuickDumpsters.com. Quick is spelled wrong intentionally. Quick, Q-U-I-K Dumpsters.com. That's QuickDumpsters.com. Corey's yet another maggot launching his own locally owned and operated business, and boy, did I need him, and really we all do. Things pile up, you get frustrated, you keep saying, "We need to make a dump run." Pretty soon it's more than a dump run, and now you need to rent a truck or have one of those ugly upside down box cars parked in front of your house that you fill up yourself. Or you do like I did, you call Corey at QuickDumpsters.com. In my case, my house had fallen into complete disarray as my late wife Christina had lost her 2-year battle with congestive heart failure, and amongst the many things left were gathering her things and finding what to donate, what had to just go in that pile of stuff where we were both going, why did we ever buy this? And it all could have been so overwhelming had Corey not just walked in, taken charge, and removed dozens of boxes of total junk, unusable dog kennels, desks that were falling apart, a worthless old smoker that couldn't be fixed, bag after bag of crap, and I can't remember what else. He was quick, spelled wrong, Q-U-I-K, quiet and clean. Well, he wasn't clean. I mean, he was. But I'm not commenting on his hygiene. I meant that his work was clean. He swept everything when he was done, and the house looked like he'd never even been there. Corey's the real deal, and I couldn't be more proud and happy to call him a brand new advertiser. His story is incredible, his dedication unmatched, and his motivation to succeed larger than he is, and that's saying something. Quotes are free. You don't even have to have them over to your house. Just send him some pics or videos, and you'll get your price, schedule your day and time, and watch someone else get that junk out of your house. Go to QuickDumpsters.com. Quick, Q-U-I-K, Dumpsters.com. Quick, Q-U-I-K, Dumpsters.com. Longtime maggots will remember Greg from MAP, M-A-P, as in Maximum Athletic Performance, which guides you to better output through better ingredients, also known as nutrition. Greg has been on the Rad Show many times and will be again, as he simplifies nutrition and helps us all understand what actually works when it comes to fueling our bodies, almost all of which can be found at maptrition.com. Every product is formulated with clinical precision and backed by science and purpose, and maptrition.com has something for every fitness level, even those of us who barely have a fitness level. With nearly 20 years as a nutritionist and a specialization in sports nutrition, Greg works with athletes and everyday individuals to optimize performance, energy, and overall health through smarter fueling strategies, all of which starts at maptrition.com. At the very least, we should all be taking daily multivitamins, and Greg has his formulated for exactly what a man or woman's body needs. Protein is in, but maybe instead of getting yours from mac and cheese with extra protein, you get it from maptrition.com. And of course, all things workout, training, and exercise are available as well. From pre-workout to creatine and other muscle builders to recovery supplements and more, all at maptrition.com. From morning breakfast essentials to post-workout recovery and everything in between, maptrition.com's full range of supplements, proteins, and wellness products are built to power your journey from start to finish. Check out all the products and find what's right for you and order it shipped to you all at maptrition.com. That's maptrition.com.
This is sports talk, how it should be. Rob and Steve do it right. They actually talk sports. Email the show at ras@theradnetwork.com.
We got this email to ras@theradnetwork.com. It is from Brian. He wrote last week, actually. I forget what we were talking about. We had mentioned being at certain sporting events, etc. He said, you both have talked about going to many sporting events in the past and now mainly watching on TV. Do you each have a greatest live game ever story? So in other words, not the sport we like to watch live the most. I think we both said hockey is still better. My mom, actually, she was so bored on, was it Saturday night? When hockey was on, and the baseball had wrapped up, and she texted me and said, "Well, there's nothing on." And I texted back. I said, "Well, hockey's on Channel 10." She's not a hockey fan, so I'll give it a try, but I can't follow the puck. And I got a text like 4 minutes later. I can't. And I'm like, well, it's better in person. It really is. You can actually see the puck better in person. But if he's talking about a specific game, I started to go through them because there was a lot of. I think Steve and I both were very blessed to have attended a lot of stuff over the years, either because of what we did or who we know or all those things. So I was at the game when Alex Smith got hurt and Kaepernick came in for the Niners. That wasn't a great game, but there was a memorable event. I've been to a couple NASCAR races. That's one of those things that like you got to check off. I think if you're a sports fan, you got to go and feel it and hear it. But the ones that I remember the most are the Texas OU game, the Red River Shootout. I had always been told a college rivalry game is unlike anything else. Wow, is it? It is. It's a stunning event. But in terms of his question, the greatest live game ever story, that was one of the greatest live events. Just to see the madness, because they play it in the neutral setting, halfway between OU and University of Texas, and the fans are split. One side's all red, one side's all burnt orange. It's nuts. It is such an amazing thing to experience. The two big candidates for me would be the A's going to those World Series as is in 88, 89, and 90. The game I remember most, ironically, has nothing to do with on the field. Game 3 of the 88 World Series, when the A's came back home after Eckersley had given up the Kirk Gibson home run. And when they introduced the roster, the standing ovation for Eckersley was extraordinary. And it went on forever. Because to Oakland fans, Eckersley was, like I've described Joe Montana as a Niner fan growing up. Bring an Eck, it's over. It's over. It wasn't over with Kirk Gibson, and the fans paying homage to him was fantastic to see. The greatest event I've been at is the 1994 NFC Championship game at Candlestick Park, Niners, Cowboys. And the Niners go up 21-0 and go on to play the Super Bowl against the Chargers and win it. And that was just extraordinary. I mean, you're a Niner fan against the Cowboys, your arch nemesis, and I was with a Cowboy fan at the time. That's easily the best actual game I've been to.
I don't have anything that matches any of that. I haven't been to a ton of games, really. I go to what I can, but due to my job, I'm always working the weekends. I'm working playoffs. I'm doing these things. I will tell you the game, and I've been to an NFL playoff game. I've been to a few NBA games. The game that sticks out to me the most is I went in 1986 to Anaheim Stadium and watched the Red Sox play the Angels. And I don't remember if it was game 3 or game 4, but just being in that atmosphere of postseason baseball was incredible. Um, Angels won that game. So as a Red Sox fan, I'm in my Red Sox hat and that, and I take a little bit, but it wasn't abusive, and no one ever sat the entire game long. If you sat, you're not watching anything. The stands, everyone was standing, cheering. It was electric. It was so much fun. Uh, Honestly, that's the way all of the Vegas Golden Knights games have been when I've gone. It just that's a regular season game for Vegas. Most people use that just for postseason, but a couple of other memorable games for me. I've seen Nolan Ryan pitch a couple of times when he was with the Angels, and just the pop of the mitt. And I've talked about that before on the show. I don't care what any of these radar guns say, and I will, I will push back on the velocity that we see today, because in the olden days it used to be when the ball crossed the plate. Now it's the second the ball comes out of the hand. That is a big difference. But another memorable game, I saw J.R. Richard during his stretch in Dodger Stadium when he was striking out at the height of his career. And I want to say he went like 5 games in a row, striking out 15 or more batters. And I watched him go into Dodger Stadium. This is with Garvey and Say and Lopes, Russell, all of those Dodger players. And I want to say he got 15 Ks in that game. And it was cool because the Dodger fans knew what they were watching. They were watching for that period of time when J.R. Richard was up with the all-time greats, because he was so unhittable. I was able to see a game during that stretch, and I realized it at the time when we won. I was so excited to go see him. I'm like, this guy's like pitching in immortality in a sense with the
Mm-hmm.
streak he was on for that season and that stretch of games.
And what a story! There's a name from the past, J.R. Richards, and then he suffered a massive stroke, and the whole story went south. But he was dominating and incredible at the time. Look, live sports, they're not what they used to be, in my opinion, because of everybody else that's there and just the degradation of society. But there is nothing like all of just the basic things that we're describing, whether the crack of the bat, the sound of the glove snapping, the fans at certain events of these games, the energy when you can go to a Golden Knights game or a college rivalry game. It is electrifying. You've been to NASCAR, right, Steve?
I've been to NASCAR, and I was excited to go. It's one of those bucket lists.
Yep.
Hockey, you don't get on TV anything close to what the game is. I, with you, agree it's the best sport to watch live. And so I went into NASCAR going, I really can't watch NASCAR. It's so boring.
Mhm.
Maybe live, it'll be a different thing. And I went, wow, it's the exact same as on TV. There is no difference. You can't talk. My daughter and I went here in Vegas, and we're sitting next to each other and we're texting because you cannot talk. It is so loud. We're texting to each other. I think we got about 25 laps in, and we're like, okay, I'm bored. What do you want to go to? So we went down and looked at the little booths and all that other stuff, came back up, watched a lot more of the race, but it was just, you need to go once, but there's no difference than what it is on TV.
True, except you get the up close and person noise that you're describing, which can't be duplicated, and then the rabidity, I don't even know if that's a word, the rabidness of the fans is electric. And obviously NASCAR is for the most part an individual sport. Yeah, they have teams and stuff, but the fans are just it's better than airport people watching. It's just great. And it's not, that is not in any way even close to meant to be demeaning. I mean, these people are incredible. They're so nice, they're so into it. They are rabid. And what I found in the two NASCAR events I went to is if you want them to, they'll teach you, they'll tell you, but they won't force it on you. They were really good. I don't want to go again. I'm like, yeah, I was kind of the same thing. I'm like, okay. So, but it was a really cool experience. So I do think if you're a sports fan, you should try to go to all these things at least once. I don't have any interest in going to a tennis match. I think that's I've been,
No, I have no desire to go to a soccer game,
no,
a tennis
no,
match.
golf, no.
One thing I would throw out there to everyone is if you get a chance and being where we're at, go to Del Mar one time. The track is unbelievable. Horse racing. The paddock is out front, so you can stand there. They will parade the horses all right there in front of you. I don't think anybody can look at those magnificent animals and just not be in awe. And Del Mar is so beautiful right there on the ocean. We used to go when I was in college, we'd go over to the infield. They got a tunnel that takes you under the track and you could go sit in the grass inside of the track. It wasn't just in the stands. And we'd go over there and hang out and sit and lay down in the grass and just watch the track. So that's another one of those things I think you need to do. One, it'd be Saratoga on the East Coast, Del Mar on the West Coast. I don't have a desire to go to the Kentucky Derby because it's so expensive and so many people go, but just a day at the races. Go one time to Del Mar and enjoy yourself.
Definitely. And there was one more thing I was going to add in there. Now it just it. Oh, I've added one to my bucket list because of you, Steve. I now need to find out how to attend live a pillow fighting match. Since you
Try.
found it on late night TV or whatever, I've got to find out where they are and go see them. I can't believe it exists, but it does. Google it, kids. Speaking of fans, the NFL, they love to boast about their growing popularity overseas. But how about this? Something Steve and I have been talking about for years. Foreign fans are not interested yet again in NFL tickets. Tickets to the October 18th Texans Jaguars game at London's Wembley Stadium are not selling. NFL UK tickets posted, quote, can't actually believe how badly the Texans v Jaguars game has sold. People are voting with their feet and staying away, end quote. Replies to that post show that many UK based fans are saying that the NFL has made tickets too expensive, with some saying it's cheaper to fly to the United States to see a game than to buy tickets in their home country. Others pointing out, who cares? It's not our sport. The NFL will play a record 9 games and even more next year. Some are saying poor ticket sales is the only thing that could slow down the NFL's plans. I don't know. It hasn't from the beginning. It's just somebody saying it out loud more and more.
That's the part that surprises me. I don't think that article is any different probably than any game they've had before. It's not their sport. Ticket prices, if they're not free, I mean, everything I understood is they pretty much hand out the tickets because they want the people in the stands and nobody wants to buy it. So I'm kind of surprised the NFL allowed that story to go out.
Yeah, and you wonder, who is, because they don't quote a person, they quote the website, and they do click a link to it. This is from profootballtalk.com, but it's been picked up as well. Who is it at NFL UK tickets? Because if they're using NFL, then the National Football League has some type of say over it, because that's not an organization you screw with. Somebody on their social media account is in trouble because they had the audacity to speak the truth out loud.
I would think somebody there's unemployed.
Yes. One quick update from last week. We mentioned that there are multiple reports, and even Baker Mayfield himself, who say that he and the Tampa Bay Buccaneers are far away on a contract extension for the quarterback who could be on a new team for the 2027 season. Mayfield's currently playing on a 3-year, $100 million contract. The question is, what's he wanting? And we're wondering, is he wanting like 50, 60 million? And the Buccaneers are more like, well, you're around 30. How about 40? 40 million. Baker said they're light years apart. He said in our report last week, if it's not done by opening day, we're not going to talk about it, blah, 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 blah. I think you even threw out this, and some people picked up on it. There are immediately people who are speculating, will he play for the Buccaneers and wind up a Pittsburgh Steeler after this season, since Aaron Rodgers says he's done after this year, and then the Steelers only have Will Howard and Drew Aller as potential successors at that point. Many are already saying, though, there's no possible way this could happen because the Steelers have completely depleted their salary cap on huge contracts all over the field, and they're going to be strapped for cash next year. I think you can work around that. I don't like that fit, no matter how they try to pull it off. If they did,
I keep looking for Jacoby Brissett traded for Baker Mayfield. Let
Jacoby
Baker
Brissett,
go be
who is showing up today, we're
he
told.
is showing up because it's mandatory, and he doesn't make enough money to pay the fine, so he needs to show up so that he can hold on to that small salary that he's actually getting. But let's go see Brissett from Baker and let Baker go quarterback the Cardinals and see what kind of money he gets.
How serious are you being?
Not at all. It would never happen. I would love to see it happen, though. I mean, let's just Tampa Bay tank our season. I think you and I had them at 6 or 7 wins going into it. Well, let's move Baker out there. Let's get a 3. We can then go into the draft with the top 5 pick. We can pick one of those quarterbacks that are coming out because it's a deep quarterback class. We then have them on a rookie deal for 5 years, at which point we can bring in supporting staff to go along with that player, as long as we pick a quality quarterback who's really going to turn into that franchise type quarterback. And Baker, what's he going to make in Arizona? Let him go play for a loser. He's already done it with Cleveland, which is why I'm surprised he's talking so much money, because with Tampa Bay, he has a shot to make the playoffs every year. Why again, he wouldn't want to go to Arizona, but let's go bury him in Arizona.
Yeah, and I don't know if he has a no trade clause, but the reason I was asking your level of seriousness is I'm trying to figure out in that NFC South how much delusion there is. Like do the Buccaneers really believe they're going to go any further than they can only possibly believe they're going to win the South? And I'm not even sure that's a given. But I mean, why hold on to this? They're not going anywhere. And if they're not going to pay Baker, then your idea isn't that outlandish. And if they're going to pay him, just pay him. If you believe that he's the ticket to the promised land, they would be paying him, I would think, or getting close to it.
Well, that was the question with Dak Prescott with the Cowboys. Cowboys aren't going to go anywhere anyway. Don't let them hold you hostage. Move him on. He then ended up signing the big contract, getting hurt. Where I thought before Friday's show that Tampa Bay was the favorite in that division, I think we have them now at 3rd. We have the Saints as the favorite in that division. So if you're not going to pay him the 55 or 60 he wants, move him on. Go. Tank your season. And I get into Mike Evans. If you were going to pay a player, wouldn't you have paid Mike Evans, but you allowed him to walk away and sign with the 49ers? So I don't think they have aspirations and believe that they're going to win the Super Bowl, or they would have kept Evans. And if that's the case, don't pay Baker, move him on.
Rob and Steve continue next, only on the radnetwork.com.
The first time Corey walked into my home, I came around the corner, extended my right hand to shake it, and said to him, "Wow, you're big." And that would be Corey from QuickDumpsters.com. Quick is spelled wrong intentionally. Quick, Q-U-I-K Dumpsters.com. That's QuickDumpsters.com. Corey's yet another maggot launching his own locally owned and operated business, and boy, did I need him, and really we all do. Things pile up, you get frustrated, you keep saying, "We need to make a dump run." Pretty soon it's more than a dump run, and now you need to rent a truck or have one of those ugly upside down box cars parked in front of your house that you fill up yourself. Or you do like I did, you call Corey at QuickDumpsters.com. In my case, my house had fallen into complete disarray as my late wife Christina had lost her 2-year battle with congestive heart failure, and amongst the many things left were gathering her things and finding what to donate, what had to just go in that pile of stuff where we were both going, why did we ever buy this? And it all could have been so overwhelming had Corey not just walked in, taken charge, and removed dozens of boxes of total junk, unusable dog kennels, desks that were falling apart, a worthless old smoker that couldn't be fixed, bag after bag of crap, and I can't remember what else. He was quick, spelled wrong, Q-U-I-K, quiet and clean. Well, he wasn't clean. I mean, he was, but I'm not commenting on his hygiene. I meant that his work was clean. He swept everything when he was done, and the house looked like he'd never even been there. Corey's the real deal, and I couldn't be more proud and happy to call him a brand new advertiser. His story is incredible, his dedication unmatched, and his motivation to succeed larger than he is, and that's saying something. Quotes are free. You don't even have to have them over to your house. Just send him some pics or videos, and you'll get your price, schedule your day and time, and watch someone else get that junk out of your house. Go to quickdumpsters.com. Quick, Q-U-I-K, dumpsters.com. Quick, Q-U-I-K, dumpsters.com. Longtime maggots will remember Greg from MAP, M-A-P, as in Maximum Athletic Performance, which guides you to better output through better ingredients, also known as nutrition. Greg has been on the Rad Show many times and will be again, as he simplifies nutrition and helps us all understand what actually works when it comes to fueling our bodies, almost all of which can be found at maptrition.com. Every product is formulated with clinical precision and backed by science and purpose, and maptrition.com has something for every fitness level, even those of us who barely have a fitness level. With nearly 20 years as a nutritionist and a specialization in sports nutrition, Greg works with athletes and everyday individuals to optimize performance, energy, and overall health through smarter fueling strategies, all of which starts at maptrition.com. At the very least, we should all be taking daily multivitamins, and Greg has his formulated for exactly what a man or woman's body needs. Protein is in, but maybe instead of getting yours from mac and cheese with extra protein, you get it from maptrition.com. And of course, all things workout, training, and exercise are available as well. From pre-workout to creatine and other muscle builders to recovery supplements and more, all at maptrition.com. From morning breakfast essentials to post-workout recovery and everything in between, maptrition.com's full range of supplements, proteins, and wellness products are built to power your journey from start to finish. Check out all the products and find what's right for you and order it shipped to you all at maptrition.com. That's maptrition.com.
For them, every day is a must-win. Huh? What does that even mean? Back to Rob and Steve. Email the show at res@theradnetwork.com.
We got a whole weekend of baseball to get caught up on here with new series is starting today and tomorrow. Take a look at all the divisions. But first, Steve, as we were talking about Baker Mayfield and his contract, and he himself says he and the Buccaneers are not even close. He'll be a free agent after this next season, 2027. Did you actually encourage tanking? Did you? Because I heard you use the word, and I was going to call you on it, and I didn't. And it did because we were talking about, well, just send Mayfield to Arizona. I said, are you serious? You said no. But then when we talked it through, we said, well, wait a minute, there might be. And you used the T word.
I do not believe in tanking. I believe in strategically putting your team in a position for future success.
So you wouldn't. So tanking would be bringing in Jacoby Brissett and telling him to lose, or calling bad plays intentionally?
Yes, I don't believe. I think you always want to win every game that you play, but I would not object to trading Baker Mayfield away in order to bring in Jacoby Brissett, or finding out. I mean, I don't know who the backup quarterback is in Tampa Bay. Letting them, they're a young quarterback, prove it to me, go out and play, and let's find out what you have. If you play like Tyler Shuck did the second half of the season for the Saints, hey, maybe we stick with you and we ride it out. So it falls into that. I'm never afraid to play the youngsters, to give them the opportunity to show they deserve to play in the NFL, even if it means we don't win a lot of games. Because if you prove you can't win games and we lose, then we get a better draft position to go out and get that young quarterback to help us, hopefully in the future, to put us in a better situation to compete for a championship. I'm willing to sacrifice a year or two in order to obtain our goal of winning championships.
By the way, Jake Browning is the backup in Tampa Bay.
Not bad. Maybe I don't even trade for him. I just move Baker for a draft pick.
To Major League Baseball, Kansas City Royals shortstop Bobby Witt Jr. left the game yesterday with right knee soreness in the seventh inning, batting 280, 9 homers, 27 RBIs, 23 steals, 66 games this season. More importantly than that, one of the standout marquee players in all of baseball. Never want to see anybody. I haven't heard a long term. Hopefully, this is nothing and not one of these too many stories we're hearing that go from he's out for a couple days to he's out till August. But to talk about throwing away a season, Steve, the Royals are 12 games behind under 500. Rather, they're tied with the Tigers for last in the American League Central. Both teams 9.5 back. Both teams, by the way, I think examples of teams you and I going into the season felt pretty good about in that American League Central. And we're into June now. We're getting to the point where we don't have to caveat everything with it's early. It's early. It's feeling like it ain't so early. We're going to get to the Tigers in a minute. Everybody's talking about where does Scooble go. Um, the Royals, what is their situation as they look forward? Because they were supposed to be right there this year.
Well, they were, and one of their strengths was their pitching. Cole Reagans was down, and he hasn't been able to pitch for a while. They had Michael Waka, Seth Lugo. I believe both of those pitchers will be moved at the trade deadline for those contending teams looking to add a little bit more pitching depth. Bobby Witt has been one of the bright spots for this team. He's their best player. If his injury goes, turns out to be a longer term injury other than a game or two, that's going to hurt them big time. Vinny Pascantino, he's their big bat in this lineup. He hasn't done a whole lot. He's actually warming up a little bit. He's up to 220, but they need him in that middle of the lineup. He's been their big RBI guy the last couple of years, but he's been off to a really slow start. Jensen, good young catcher. I like this guy. He started off the season pretty good. He's hitting about 213 right now, but I think he is going to be a really good catcher out there. Mikhail Garcia is having a good season. He had a good season last year. He was a top prospect many years ago. He's finally starting to put it together, but there's still too many holes in that lineup for them to be a contender. I think even though it's a weak division, I really don't see them climbing back into it. And I think they will be sellers come trade deadline.
And the Tigers, by the way, Kansas City's off today. They're going to open up tomorrow hosting the Texas Rangers. The Tigers also off today, tied with the Royals. Now, the Tigers are going to be hosting Minnesota for the next few days, starting tomorrow. And Tigers 9.5 out, Minnesota 7 out. I don't know if the Tigers are waiting to see what happens with the Minnesota series to see if they can get some momentum or if they've already decided. Tariq Skubal pitched 5 scoreless innings yesterday. In his first rehabilitation appearance, single A, he struck out 6, allowed 2 hits, 44 of his 54 pitches were strikes, fastball hit 98. There are, endless stories this morning. For a while, ESPN.com's homepage was 8 landing spots for Tariq Skubal, and they went from longest shot to most likely. By the way, the longest shot of the 8 they picked was the A's. I'm not kidding. And then you get the obvious ones, the Dodgers and Cubs and things like that as most likely. Where are the Tigers as well, Steve? It's the same question.
I think they're trying to hang in there. They're a much better team at home. I mean, they won 2 out of the 3 against the Mariners. They're 16-15 at home. They've been so bad on the road. I think they're like 11-24, something insane. They have an all right lineup. Riley Green has been incredible for him this year. My complaint with him has always been he's got too much strikeout in him. He strikes out in that 35 to 40% range, it seems. But he's hitting over 300. And Kevin McGonigal, great young shortstop. The Tigers locked him up. And I wish you could say the Tigers could find the money to keep Tariq Skubal. I don't think that's going to happen. And I think it's going to just turn into that showcase and open it up and see who's going to give the most bid. I'm glad to hear the A's were in it, though, because I know the A's aren't going to pay him and the A's won't make a trade. But the A's have a really good, strong, young core. They have, Leo DeVries is sitting down there as one of the top 2 prospects in all of baseball, another great young shortstop. A's are moving into their new ballpark, wouldn't it be wonderful if they moved some of their prospects, a couple of these outfielders? And I know you don't want to see Brent Rooker go or something like that. I would say, look, we're not trading Nick Kurtz. Kurtz isn't going to go, but let's see what else might interest you. And, move a Soderstrom or someone like that with DeVries, because I'm sorry, to add to DeVries, who's going to come up with the A's. So maybe you move him as well. DeVries over there, Soderstrom over there, a couple of players. But you can't do it if you're not going to sign it, because he's not going to be the difference maker to give you a World Series this year. So it's not a rental player for the rest of the year. So that's why I don't think the A's will be there. But I think they have the product to come up with a quality trade to make the trade offer.
What's smarter for Scooble if you're Scooble's agent and such with the impending lockout and the word is that everything will be grandfathered in? Isn't it smarter for Scooble to lock in a deal this season so that whenever Major League Baseball resumes, he's got his whatever he's going to get, which is going to be extraordinary?
Yes, I think any player right now, if I was playing, I'm talking to my agent and I'm that superstar, I don't want to hit free agency. Let's get a deal done now so we can circumvent the cap that we believe is coming in. So it's benefit to the team to lock up any stars you have to a big that are going to get that big contract now, because you can tuck that away and it's going to be there. You know that with the Dodgers, you know it with the Mets with Soto. It has to be in there. They can't just say, oh, okay, you got to cut $160 million to get under the cap, and we're no longer going to recognize the deferred payments or anything like. They can't do that. That would be too unfair. As much as I'm for the salary cap, too unfair for those teams that have the Bryce Harper contracts out there, the Juan Soto contracts out there. So, Scooble, capitalize on it. Look, give me a 10-year, $500 million pitching contract. That'll take me through the rest of my career, and make it happen now, because you're going to be able to defer that, pay that other part up and above the salary cap for down the road.
By the way, back the what they did was ESPN got like a half dozen GMs or executives and they threw out ideas and packages, and that's how they came up with these teams that they agreed on. And with the A's, they threw out a bunch of names. Well, we'll send the Tigers Severino, he's a waste, but in the end, it all came down to DeVries. And the problem is, like you said, the A's aren't going to sign Scooble. So don't ship off what is supposed to be this hot shot next thing. You're basically doing the same thing. Yes, so the A's, they traded Mason Miller, but they got DeVries. Everybody looks at Mason Miller like, oh, another A that got away. Well, yeah, but the A's got DeVries. Well, now you don't get rid of DeVries for Scooble, and none of that's going to happen. But it's a fun exercise to wherever Scooble. And what about wherever Scooble lands, to finish the thought? And then what about the Twins, who the Tigers will be playing? They're 7 back of the Howardians in the Central, and it feels to me like they've lost 7 of the last 10. That the Twins are settling in at the bottom, and this is a 2-team race of the White Sox and the Howardians.
Yeah, losing 3 or 4 to the Royals at home is not a good message for them. Their pitching is somewhat questionable. Their lineup, they have some young kids, Keishel at second base that hasn't quite performed to the level that they've wanted. Royce Lewis, this guy 3 years ago was one of the top prospects coming up. He was going to be a superstar in the big leagues. He has done nothing over the last couple of years. They brought in Josh Bell to be their DH, big hitter. He's hitting 220. It's just everything they've seemed to do hasn't quite worked out. The couple of veteran players they brought in haven't played to that level. Byron Buxton is still arguably their best player, but he can never seem to stay healthy, and he hasn't continued to be that elite player he was earlier on in his career. So their lineup doesn't strike fear in any opposing pitchers. Their pitching staff's not there. It to me is really just that low budget team that we talk about in the Major League Baseball that's not going to seriously compete. They may make the playoffs here or there, but the way they're built right now, they're not going anywhere.
We'll get into the White Sox more tomorrow. We'll find out a little bit, maybe, if they're real as they start to host the Atlanta Braves. We're going to circle back to the Hawardians in a minute after we talk about the Yankees beating the Red Sox 6-1 yesterday, and for the second time in less than 24 hours, the Yankees putting another name on the IL. Austin Wells has been placed on the injured list after reporting neck stiffness, leading to a headache to the club late Friday after the Yankees optioned JC Escarrera and underwent exams. And then a few hours, Wells was on the injured list, joining Aaron Judge, Giancarlo Stanton, and Jason Dominguez. The Yankees are tied for first with the Tampa Bay Rays. And the Yankees have won 6 of their last 10. Judge is at least 6 weeks out till they re-image him. Today, the Yankees go on the road to start a series against the first place Cleveland Hawardians in the Central.
Yeah, it's amazing that I'm saying this, that the Yankees pitching is what's carrying this team and will need to continue carrying it. They've always been the Bronx Bombers. They've always had a great offense, big payroll, but the offense just isn't there. It's their pitching that's putting them there. Luckily, the Tampa Bay Rays have gone into that slump. They have not been playing good baseball as of lately, riding another 2-game losing streak. So Schlittler, Rodon, Cole, Warren, Weathers, they're just going to have to continue to pick it up and keep the Yankees in their games.
Tampa Bay is going to host Boston starting today. Toronto's going to host Philadelphia. And if you jump over to the American League West, Seattle's on the road at Baltimore today, beginning a series there. The Mariners are a game and a half over the Rangers, 2.5 over the A's, 4.5 over the Astros, and 9 over the Angels. We've been trying to figure out, is this where Seattle pulls away? And they are throwing Hancock tonight at Baltimore. This is the Mariners haven't yet pulled away, Steve. They're hanging in. They've won 7 of their last 10, but they still got the Rangers and A's within less than 3.
Yeah, losing that 2 out of the 3 to the Tigers team that's not just wounded. I mean, they're almost down for the count. They got to do better in those, but they're moving in the right direction. And it goes back to that pitching. Their pitching has been really good. Their bats are starting to heat up. Josh Naylor's up into the 250s now. You got Hancock going today. He's had a solid season. He's 4-2. His ERA is under 3. His WHIP is under 1. Going against Chris Bassett, who has struggled. He's 0-2 in his last 3. His ERA in his last 3 and for the season is over 5. His WHIP for the season's 1.76. So Bassett hasn't been fooling a whole lot of hitters here. The Mariners just need to get consistent on offense and allow their pitching to dominate, and they will be there. But I keep saying it, the team that's making me nervous if I was in the West is the Houston Astros. As they're going to get healthy, I don't think they've put enough room between them and the Astros. So don't be surprised if the Astros find a way to get going, and I'm not counting them out of making the playoffs either.
So if you had to step back in the AL West, even though the Astros are 4.5 back from the Mariners and they have to go through the A's and Rangers, there's only a couple games there. You think you're still feeling like the West is shaking out as Mariners Astros?
Mariners, Astros, the A's, I just don't believe in their pitching enough to think they're going to get there. And I don't believe in the Rangers hitting at all. I just, Jacob deGrom, Valdi, Kumar, Leiter have been okay at times. They've been way too inconsistent for me. But the Rangers can't hit, the A's can't pitch. So I can't throw them to contend with the Astros or the Mariners.
Now, speaking of the A's, Nick Kurtz and Brent Rooker both homered yesterday. Gage jump. Some A's can pitch. Steve, he worked 6 1/3 scoreless innings. A's beat the Astros 5-0 yesterday to avoid a series sweep. Jump allowed 3 hits, 3 walks, 3 strikeouts, and has allowed just 1 run in his past 13 1/3 innings pitched. They just called him up 3 games ago. He's the 23-year-old lefty. He did look good yesterday. He's one of 2 keepers, in my opinion. JT Ginn's the other one. They called up another rookie who started on Saturday. That was brutal. But, hey, it's his first game. We'll see. So the A's sit there 3 games below 500. And, speaking of their pitching, right-hander Joel Kunnell was acquired by the Brewers from the Athletics for cash on Saturday, and good riddance. as an A's fan, I never liked seeing this guy come in. He had been optioned, I guess, right, for assignment,
Yes,
and he's
DFA.
off. They traded him for cash, so good. Goodbye, Connell.
Yeah, because they got something for him. He was off their roster. He was going to become a free agent, so at least they bought breakfast off of him. So that's great. I always find it interesting though when you see these good teams go and pick up pitchers from teams that are desperate for help for pitchers. So, that was one of the texts I sent you over the weekend. You came back and said, "Yeah, great. I'm glad he's off my team. Now watch he go threaten for a Cy Young with the Brewers." And back to Gordon Jump, great outing. He's had 2 in a row now. This is what you need to see Gage Jump do. That he needs to step up. He has given this opportunity, prove he deserves to be in the big leagues and continue to follow. He's going to have a clunker here and there, but he has shown he has the stuff to succeed in it. And let's see him vault to that front of the A's rotation.
Now it's Gage Jump, as Steve said the second time. The first time you said Gordon Jump, do you remember who that is?
Gordon Jump, I want to say, is the guy from WKRP in Cincinnati, the owner.
There you go. Speaking of the Brewers, guy you've been watching, Jacob Mizorowski. He got the yin and the yang, if you will, yesterday. He mowed down the Rockies, including firing a record. We can go back to your speed gun thing here, I guess, Steve. 103.7 mile an hour pitch. This was Saturday night. He also was responsible for a scary moment in the 6th when he threw a 98 mile an hour fastball that got away from him and hit the Rockies' Tyler Freeman flush in the helmet. Freeman exited the game after being attended to by trainers, and he did walk off the field under his own power. Mizorowski, if you're watching, you can see he looked broken up over this one. Like, I can't believe I did, and it was right to the helmet from a guy. This one was 98, they said, but who would threw as hard as almost 104 miles an hour. Nothing intentional about it from what everybody can see, and man, Mizorowski took that one hard. But he also allegedly threw 103.7 miles an hour. Oof.
He is unbelievable. I think he needs to not, and I'm glad it affected him. I mean, he didn't mean to, but he needs to build off of that. Use that to your advantage. The batters aren't going to dig in when you get your curveball going. You're off speed. Hey, look, I can start it high and tight and let it break into the zone and use that. And the Brewers need to pick up on this. Pitchers do not succeed in Colorado. And I was curious to watch this game because I wanted to see how Mizorowski would do in Colorado because it's the graveyard for many, many pitchers over the years. But he just showed it. Hey, look, just go find everybody who throws 100, put them in the starting rotation, and you take that home field advantage out for Colorado, and you don't have to worry about it for your pitchers. It's just, how are we going to find, that many good pitchers that throw 100 miles an hour?
Do you believe he threw 103.7, or are you going to go back to what you were complaining about earlier of we're looking at pitchers when they release the ball as opposed to when it crosses the plate?
Everything I've read, and this is from John Smoltz. I'm trying to think what other major league players have talked about this, is they estimate the difference between today's game and back then is 6 to 7 miles an hour. So at that 103, you're really looking at a 96 or 97, which is still unbelievable.
Yeah.
But using today's technology, Nolan Ryan is sitting at 107, 108. And that's the thing nobody talks about. And as I said, that mitt popped it. And it's not just me saying it. I've heard many people talk about it. That mitt popped like no one they've ever heard ever at the major league level. There is a lot more velocity in today's game than we've ever seen before. I'm not denying that. Because we didn't have that many pitchers that threw in the low 90s, which now that would be the upper 90s. We didn't have that. We had a lot more pitchers. Jamie Moyer was like 82. So what are you going to do there? I mean, what? He's up to 88, 89. And that's one of the things that I'm bummed by is because like Jamie Moyer wouldn't pitch in today's day. Greg Maddux was, if I'm correct, in that 87, 88, but everybody talks about well, that's really 94. That's nothing to shake a stick at. It wasn't like he couldn't break glass with his fastball. It just isn't in that mid to upper 90s, which is where everybody wants today.
So, what is the overview there of the National League Central? The Brewers, they're 5 games up on the Cardinals, 7.5 up on the Pirates, the Cubs, the Reds are 9.5 back. But everybody other than the Reds is over 500. Are we getting a wild card team out of the Central? Are the Brewers hanging on? You keep saying you're not sure about the Cardinals. There they are. They've won 4 in a row.
They've won 4 in a row, and they're getting it done. I love the way they're playing this year. It's exciting. I don't think they'll maintain it. I don't think they're a good enough team to make the playoffs. I still believe it's the Brewers, the Cubs, and the Pirates divisions. It would not surprise me if they found a way to put 2 of those teams into the playoffs for wild cards along with it, as in those 3 teams make it. The Pirates this year are showing they can score runs. They're like a top 5 team in Major League Baseball in runs scored. I'm very excited about Jared Jones coming back. He's missed like a season and a half. He's one of their really good young starting pitchers to go with Chandler, Paul Skeens. You got Jared Jones. They have some quality. Mitch Keller. They go deep in their starting rotation. I mean, Majemski isn't even in this rotation. He's getting moved to the pen. And I want to say in 9 starts this year, the guy's ERA is under 3, and yet he's getting booted into the pen. So they have the depth, which allows you to compete for a playoff spot, just like even when the Mariners were playing bad, they had that pitching that they could go 4-5 with quality starts out of their starters, and the Pirates meet that. Question had always been scoring runs. And keep in mind, Marcelo Zuna has not even gotten going yet. They brought him in to be the big bat in the middle of that lineup. He continues to struggle. I think he's hitting like 210, 220. He has not produced for what they were expecting from him, but the rest of the lineup is. Horowitz is stepping up. Connor Griffin has made a nice transition into the big leagues. The first month he couldn't hit, but he's putting that behind him. I think he's up to 250, 260. O'Neal Cruz, great young talent. Another one of those like Ellie De La Cruz with so much talent. He was a liability at shortstop. They moved him to center. He was a big time liability out there, but just so much athletic ability. But he's starting to do better defensively in that outfield. Pirates are still weakness to me is that defense up the middle is not good right now. But Brian Reynolds, the pro athlete that he is, he continues to produce for this lineup. This is a really good Pirates team that nobody talks about.
Pirates have lost 3 in a row, but to your point, they're 5th in all of the majors in runs for. They have a plus 30 differential, which is behind only the Dodgers, the Brewers, the Braves, and the Yankees. No one would guess if you threw those 4 teams and said name number 5. No one would say the Pirates.
Right, and what? Their 3-game losing streak. They got beat by the Braves.
Right.
Everybody's getting beat by the Braves. Don't dwell, not you personally, but the
Right.
Pirates, don't dwell on that. Look, you got beat by the Braves, who right now could be the best team in all of baseball, but continue to beat those teams you should beat, and they will be right there.
By the way, the Pirates play tomorrow. They're going to host the Dodgers. We'll talk more about that tomorrow because Paul Skeens is throwing. But you mentioned the Cubs, and Cubs third baseman Alec Bregman says the blame for his team's offensive woes are on him. He went 0 for 5 yesterday. As the Cubs lost to the Giants in 10 innings. Bregman said he pulled a Wembanyama. He said, quote, "I've been terrible. I need to play better. Offensively, it's been awful. I've failed many times. I've struggled. I've started slow before. I've started fast before. When you're struggling, there's only one way forward, and that's straight head on through it. It comes down to executing the game," end quote. Bregman's in the first year of his 5-year, $175 million contract, and the Cubs have been all over the place. You still have them in the hunt, but boy, are they win 10, lose 10.
Too much talent on this team. They got pretty decent pitching, but their lineup has to be much better. It's not just Bregman. There's 9 guys to go to the plate every single game. Pete Curl Armstrong's finally starting to hit the ball. He'd been hitting around 200 the whole season long. Michael Busch has not done a whole lot. He's hitting 240. Ian Happ, nice contract. He's not doing anything. Suzuki, who to me is their offensive leader. This guy, I love him. When he's hitting, this Cubs team wins games and they score runs. He's gone into a big slump. He's gone from 280 down to 240. Nico Horner hitting 240. It's not Bregman. It's the whole lineup just is not hitting the ball. Weather has turned warm, so you got to figure they're going to get it to going again here soon, but they need that offense to move, not just Bregman.
So the Cubs lost to the Giants, who continue to wobble along there in the National League West. But hey, they're not in last place because that would be the Rockies. The Dodgers have placed Tyler Glass now to the 60-day. They transferred him to the 60-day IL. He was out. He's been out since May 8th. When you look at that National League West, Steve, the Padres, what a free-for-all. You want to talk about a team with offensive problems. My God, they have lost 8 of their last 10. They're third behind the Diamondbacks, who are 7.5 back. The Padres are 8 back. And the Dodgers, as we mentioned, they're playing the Pirates starting tomorrow. They got to deal with Skeens tomorrow. But even with all of these injuries, are we in that? We're close. We're close, right, to that vortex of the Dodgers running away.
I think they're already running away, and Tyler Glasnow just went on the transfer from the 10-day IL to the 60-day IL. I think they knew it all along. But Roki Saki, their pitcher, has been great the last 4 or 5 outings. So it's one of those, he started the season, really struggled. He has not lived up to expectations, but he is now throwing the ball really well for the Dodgers. Gets into that pitching depth that, hey, no, we can put Glasnow on the IL along with, Blake Snell. We're not missing anything. We'll just keep it going. Padres offense, there's serious problems there. I don't know how they're going to fix it. I keep waiting for, Jackson Merrill hitting at the Mendoza line at 200. Manny Machado is now under 170. He's down to $169. He's their number 3 hitter, or should be their number 3 hitter, the guy that makes this offense go. He can't do anything there. Andujar, their DH, he started the season off good. He's nursing an injury right now, so he's not at 100%. For me, their catcher, this guy goes out there a lot. He's hitting $147. And keeps going out. Great defensive catcher, but if the Giants weren't happy with Patrick Bailey at $160, $170, Fermin's not even getting to $150. They can't hit. Pull Mason Miller out of this for their lockdown closer to ensure that they win these close games. How bad would the Padres be if they had the A's bullpen?
Oh. By the way, I wanted to circle back to a point you made about the American League Central. You were talking about the Tigers, mentioned how bad they were on the road, 11-24. You were right. In fact, that entire division, other than the Guardians, they're all terrible on the road. Tigers 11-24, Royals 12-22, Twins 12-19. White Sox not quite as bad, but a losing record. But none of them are as bad as the Red Sox are at home. In fact, Steve, the Red Sox at home have a worse record than any team on the road. Any team. What?
Worse home record, worse. Take that into the road. That shows how bad this season really is going. They can't get any momentum. The bright spot was Saturday's game against the Yankees was postponed due to weather, so they went 1-1. They stole the Friday game. Great, we got a win out of it. So we didn't lose the series. We just tied the series. So as a Red Sox fan right now, I'm clinging to almost anything I can as a positive because there have been so few highlights this season.
Including postponements. That's now considered a positive.
We didn't lose.
That's right. That's true.
Rob and Steve continue next, only on the radnetwork.com.
If you've never heard of microseal, let me tell you what it isn't. It is not a really small marine mammal. Get it? A micro seal? Oh, fine. Just ask AI. AI describes microseal this way with a bunch of AI words. Microseal is a premium, eco-friendly, and biodegradable fabric protection spray that penetrates deep into fibers to provide permanent stain, soil, and sun fade resistance for rugs, furniture, and delicate fabrics. It uses nanotechno blah 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 and blue 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 blue. What AI is trying to say is that microseal is non-toxic, non-allergenic, safe for pets and children, and although AI doesn't say this, it should, you need to contact a longtime maggot Joel from AdvantageSteam.com right now to get him to apply microseal for you. You can even make appointments online at AdvantageSteam.com. We've had microseal for years at Williams Manor, and it treats a lot more than carpets. Microseal protects virtually all fibrous materials, including wool, cotton, silk, suede, leather, and synthetic fabrics. It protects upholstery, carpets, rugs, draperies, and clothing, including wedding dresses. And ladies, you're going to need what? 3 or 4 of those in your lifetime. And it protects against stains, moisture, and UV degradation without changing the texture. Also, if you're an interior designer, Joel has a special program just for you, and all you have to do is say the password, which is what? What? There's no password, I guess. Never mind. Whoever you are, contact Joel at AdvantageSteam.com. And if you're an interior designer, tell him, I guess. I don't know. That's AdvantageSteam.com, where you'll learn more about microseal and everything else that Joel offers. At AdvantageSteam.com, that's AdvantageSteam.com, AdvantageSteam.com. Longtime advertiser Sue Berry, that's Berry with an A, is more important now than ever. Sue and her team have been serving Northern Nevada and the outlying areas for 30 years, and her experience in both commercial and residential lending is vital, as every day we're bombarded with news of interest rates, the market, the economy, and a bunch of other stuff that Sue can actually make sense of while everyone else's eyes glaze over. Now remember, it's Sue Berry with an A, B-A-R-R-Y, SueBerry.com. Most people think berry is spelled like a fruit or Halle Berry, but no, it's Sue Berry with an A, like soul singer Barry White's first name.
I've heard people say,
Stop that. Sue is a broker versus a retail lender, which means she can shop over 150 different lenders to get you the very best rate possible. And on average, someone who uses a broker like Sue saves over $10,000 per loan, which includes refinancing. And if you have a rate at 6.5% or higher, call Sue for a free quote now on a refinance. Sue Berry and her incredible team from Barrett Financial can be found at SueBerry.com. That's Berry with an A. I've been working with Sue and recommending her to you for years. All you need to do is call her now so she can get you pre-approved. Just call your residential and commercial lending expert, Sue Berry, at 775-843-9983. Oh, Rob, stop. You're going too fast. What was the number again? 775-843-9983. Or just head to SueBerry.com. The number's right there. Berry is B-A-R-R-Y. Sue Berry with an A.com. That's Sue Berry, B-A-R-R-Y.com, SueBerry.com.
Disclaimer, Sue Berry, NMLS number 366040, Barrett Financial Group, LLC, NMLS number 181106, Nevada 5091, Equal Housing Opportunity.
Steve has been running sports books for decades, and Rob spent decades running radio so far into the ground he just created his own network. This is the Rob and Steve Sports Show on the RAD Network.
Basketball tonight, we got Game 3 at Madison Square Garden. Knicks and Spurs, we have an update for you on some of that that we'll get to before the end. Then we have hockey tomorrow. We'll spend more time specifically on Carolina at Vegas for Game 4 tomorrow. But let's go back to Saturday. So funny. Steve, going into this series, you had them low scoring. You had maybe all the games going into overtime. You had them close. It was funny on Saturday to be flipping back and forth through that whole first period, nothing. I'm like, here we go, just like Steve said. And Steve and I are both big into pitching duels and defensive games. And then out of nowhere, second period, the Knights go up 4-0. I'm like, what the? And then the Hurricanes score 4 in the third, and they go to double overtime, and it's 5-4. The Knights win. Carolina scored 3 goals, just 39 seconds in the third period, which was obnoxious. That's the fastest any team has scored 3 goals in a Stanley Cup final game. It was possession, goal, goal. Steve, you texted me Sunday morning. We were leaving each other alone through the game, but you texted me something like phenomenal game. It was all of the no, that's not true. Overwhelmingly, the postseason of the NHL has risen above everything. Certainly the NBA. Not every game, not every series. But wow, this series has already, it's exhausting, Steve. I feel tired after watching these games.
It has been incredible. It is so far from what I was expecting as far as low scoring, rock fight, chess match. It has had everything. I mean, you talk about the Hurricanes and their 3 goals and what 39 seconds. I mean, it was just so fast. Uh, to Marner's hat trick in like 3 minutes on that end. We had the Knights scored 2 goals. Juan Walker, the Knights shoot the pass to the center. The guy whiffs, doesn't even get anything on it. The Hurricanes guy has got a stick down. He tries to control the puck. He knocks it in, even down to the last goal. Shea Theodore throwing it off the back wall at gate type of thing and bounces in. The game had everything. I mean, the Knights scored 7 goals and they only got credit for 5 because they took 2 off the board with another goalie interference and offsides, which was clearly offsides. It has been so exciting. Normal hockey game, you're up 4-0. This is it. Only the true fans are going to continue watching. My wife was going ballistic when they gave up those 3 goals in that 39. What are they doing? She's like, my wife never yells at the TV, and she's yelling at the TV. What are they doing? They're blowing it. There was just so much exciting throughout the course of the game. Double overtime. I mean, everything you could think of seemed to happen in that game.
That shot from Theodore to win the game, though, is so extraordinary. It's like Wemby from the logo. I mean, that was nuts. The whole game was nuts. It was so great. It's so great to watch. More of that tomorrow. We'll talk about that. I did not forget the rule that we talked about the NBA, and that means that you have to talk about LeBron James. I just put it later in the show. A couple of updates on LeBron and the offseason. First one, totally meaningless, but it's a story because LeBron James is mentioned. Former Lakers guard Lonzo Ball, who played 1 season with LeBron James and apparently has a podcast, said that it will not be easy for LeBron to go back to Cleveland if that's what the future Hall of Famer decides to do. And then he pointed out all the obvious things that his family and everything is in LA. That was the extent of the insight of Lonzo Ball that got a national story headline yesterday about LeBron. That's it. There's no more. I have nothing more to report. You say LeBron James, you get clickbait, I guess.
Didn't we break that whole story like a week and a half ago with the same stuff? How come we didn't get that worldwide recognition? Because we said basically the same thing.
We don't have the gravitas of Lonzo Ball, which is quite depressing, I must say. Chandler Parsons, at least he played the game a little longer. He has warned that the notion of adding LeBron James to the Golden State Warriors is rapidly becoming a hot topic, but will not provide the results most fans are dreaming of. Parsons noted that even with James, the Warriors would be unlikely to reach the level of the Spurs, OKC, and even the Rockets, saying they wouldn't even win a championship. Now, this is an idea you and I have been floating for a while. You started this. But from the beginning, neither one of us believed that LeBron and the old man Wild Hogs crew, now that we remembered the name of the movie, which Steve texted me over the weekend, that they were going to challenge for the title in the West. It's just going to be a great thing to watch if it happens. LeBron, Steph, Draymond, and Jimmy Butler either implode or do something, but we weren't thinking they were going to challenge the West, were we?
I think it was this morning that I saw, and again, I love how these people throw these things out there, but can't back it. They had Anthony Davis joining LeBron with the Warriors. How do the Warriors pull this off? And in their scenario, the Warriors are going to trade for Anthony Davis and sign LeBron James. And oh, by the way, we still don't give up anything.
Right, they're going to keep Jimmy Butler
Yep.
as well.
Yep.
What?
We're going to roll Kerr, Butler, Draymond, LeBron, and AD.
We're just throwing names out.
I just, as again, I go through and try to read a whole bunch of different stories here and there that I can, and that's what they had. The other one that I'm curious, because they didn't give us what they would give up, but they had Sabonis going to the Lakers and joining Luka in another article I had, but they did not have what the Lakers would have to give to the Kings. And I saw that, and I'm hoping, Kings, please don't be the Kings. Don't give away Sabonis for nothing. A slice of bread and a bowl of soup. Just try to, if you're going to move Sabonis, get something of quality in return.
To the the rumor of LeBron going to the Warriors, Steph Curry is set to meet with LeBron James. Originally reported by Brett Siegel of Clutch Points, it's now been reconfirmed by multiple people who say that it's part of a wider recruitment pitch to bring LeBron to the Bay Area, and that the Warriors are very much open to pursuing LeBron, and they plan to do so this offseason in free agency. So they have not said it, but they're saying it to everybody that'll report it, that the cat's out of the bag, and the Warriors, they're sending Steph, and they're going to have a discussion with LeBron. And you know what? Why not? How about they get LeBron, and let's just throw out names. How about the Warriors add Giannis too? Let's just throw out things that can't possibly happen.
I have heard that one, and how the Warriors were going. I think it was about 3 weeks ago. That was one of the first teams that came out that landing spots for Giannis. It was the Warriors, and I want to say it was right around the time that they were talking to Celtics for Jaylen Brown.
But not with LeBron also going to the Warriors, right?
No, they did not have LeBron going along with Giannis to the Warriors.
Oh, well, but let's start that. I mean, why not? Because that's what we're doing. We're just throwing out these absurd things that can't happen, and let's just throw it in there. I don't know. I'm with Steve. I just want this all to be over, and it's not going to be for over a month. And even then, it won't be over. The Atlanta Hawks did sign Quinn Snyder to a multi-year contract extension. No details yet, but he's been with the Hawks since 2022, 2023. They went 46-36 before losing in the first round to the Knicks in 6 games. Good move, Steve, for the Hawks to wrap up Snyder.
I think so. I think the Hawks have a decent amount of talent here. I'm curious to see how they continue and grow with that. They brought in a couple of years ago some, young players through the draft, and they've added a couple of veterans, and I think Snyder just adds to the stability. I think he's a respected coach throughout the league.
In that article about LeBron going to Golden State, and how was it Parker? Somebody was pointing out they're not going to win. They're not going to challenge the Spurs or OKC. But he also threw the Rockets in there. Are the Rockets, should they be getting mentioned with the Spurs and OKC in your opinion as we head into next year?
Rockets need Fred VanVleet back. They need a point guard to go along with it. And how's KD going to do with LeBron? I mean, are they going to fit and Schengen, their big center, good, young, quality center? I really like him. They get VanVleet back. They're going to be a much better team there. I'm not sure how they roll that roster on the court with Durant and LeBron.
Well, what if they are? But are the Rockets a legitimate, regardless of offseason, other than health? Are the Rockets, should they be getting mentioned as one of the premier Western? I mean,
I think the Rockets are.
Okay, so correct me if I'm wrong, because maybe I got this wrong. I thought it was OKC and San Antonio were in the league of their own, and then you dipped to the T-Wolves and the Nuggets, and you're putting the Rockets right there in that second tier?
I think the Rockets are right with the Nuggets, the T-Wolves in that second tier. Keep in mind, they didn't have the point guard this year. VanVleet went down in the offseason, and you watched them struggle the entire year. They thought Kevin Durant was going to be the piece that put them into that elite group, but they were not a great team this last year. And with that health, with a move here or there, I think they can be right there.
Is if Golden State gets LeBron as constituted, Draymond, Steph, and Jimmy Butler, is Golden State in that second tier? Or is that our 6 teams in the West?
Maybe you get their Jimmy Butler when he's healthy, and I get 75 plus games from Butler doing what he does, that you could probably put the Lakers in that role. But if Jimmy Butler's 50, 55 games, not even quite to 60 games, I don't think you can get there.
In a surprise to no one, New York is already melting down as they get ready to host Game 3 at Madison Square Garden tonight. You got all the national media, obviously, it is all over New York, and they're going from bar to bar to bar in the MCG or MSG area, just packed with Knicks fans pre-gaming and getting ready. Tonight is Game 3. The Knicks have announced, by the way, the winning bid in an auction for 2 seats for tonight's game at Madison Square Garden. They are located in the VIP Section 10 Row AA, seats 25 and 26, right off center court. No way to know what these would ever sell for because the Knicks don't sell them. These are the seats that they give to Tracy Morgan and Timothy Chalamet and other courtside fixtures, but they put them up for auction for a charity event. Now, before we get to that, the seats elsewhere in the building, the cheapest upper deck seats available last night were going for more than $6,000 per seat. Upper deck, Madison Square Garden tonight on StubHub, SeatGeek, and Vivid Seats. If you wanted to get courtside, the closest you could get was 75 grand per seat. And that's not even for the best courtside seats at tonight's game. The winning bid for the 2 tickets for charity were split by a law firm and an equity firm. I don't know how they're going to decide who gets the 2 seats or what they're going to do with them. It benefits the Garden of Dreams Foundation, and the Knicks said it's the largest single donation in the history of the foundation. And it's a MSG company to assist children in the tri-state area. Great organization. Good for the Knicks. Good for the law firm or whatever. These prices are nuts, Steve. They're just off the charts. 75 grand is the closest you can get to courtside for 1 seat.
I don't understand it. Watch the game on TV if you need to. Record the game, watch it 3 or 4 times so you can speak about all the different things. Pretend you were at the game. Oh yeah, the crowd went crazy when this happened. And just make it up. I saved $75,000, but I can tell you what happened. And when the crowd went crazy, you could even make up a story of how the beer cups snake started up in the section over, whatever you need. I never understand why people would pay that kind of money. I don't get it. I like going to games, but they have to be reasonable. My wife and I were looking to go into the Aviators this past weekend, but the cheapest seats in the whole stadium started at $35. It's like, it's minor league baseball. I'm not paying more than $35 to go to a game for it, the 2 of us, and then we get a hot dog and a beverage. You're talking $100 for a minor league game. So I'm not paying that. I'm certainly not paying $75,000 to sit, fairly close in MSG.
I remember years ago when the Eagles made their way back to the Super Bowl, there were stories of people who were like regular people who were taking out second mortgages on their homes so that they could get tickets to the Super Bowl and things like that. So it's not like, because the easy place to go for everybody to feel good is, well, if you're paying 75 grand you can afford it. Not always. What I don't understand, even if you can afford it, that's a lot of money. And why Game 3? If you're going to spend that kind of money, go to a game that you can say, I was there when the Knicks swept, or, set itself up. Because if you're going to pay 75 grand tonight, if you're watching the game and the Knicks look like they're going to win, just buy them for Game 4 and presume that you can resell them if the Knicks lose, but otherwise you're going to be at the sweeping game. Why not? Why Game 3? What?
Game 4 is going to be more expensive, and I couldn't put a third mortgage on my house to buy Game 3 and Game 4, and then it goes 7, and what am I going to do? I wouldn't pay $750 to see the Lions in the Super Bowl for a ticket, and they have never been, and I've been a Detroit Lions fan my entire life. I wouldn't pay $750 for a ticket to that game.
Would you go for free?
Depends on if I'm still working. And
right?
I
Because
should say
even
depends on if I quit my job in order to go to the game.
because even if you could go for free, I just don't know anymore if I would get out of the game what I want to that you can get from home because it's just not the same experience. And yeah, you get to say you were there when your team was in the Super Bowl and hopefully won the Super Bowl, but so what? I mean,
Yeah,
did you
being the Lions
really?
having never been there, it's so much better on TV. Let's say the Lions went to the Super Bowl for the first time, which it will be, but I'm going to put this as the first time, and it's in Las Vegas.
Oh, okay.
I think I would be checking my company's absence policy. I don't want a no call, no show because I don't want to take the hit there. But what is it for a call out on a blackout date? You know, I have so many attendance points.
Yeah.
Do I lose like 2 points, 4 points towards that I can still keep my job and go to the game because it's here in Las Vegas? That's what I would be checking if I had free tickets.
Game 3 tonight. It's 5:30 Pacific time on ABC. We're back tomorrow.
This has been a presentation of the Rob and Steve Sports Show, brought to you by the Rad Network and is copyrighted by the radnetwork.com and Williams Broadcasting for the private use of our audience. Any reproduction, accounts, or descriptions of whatever Rob and Steve just talked about without the express permission of the Rad Network